Hare Krishna. We continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 6, Dhyan Yoga. Here on text 19. Yatha dipo nivata stho ninkate sopama smrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogam atmanaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. A truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence, in constant, undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as a lamp in a windless place. So Krishna has been speaking to Arjuna in this section of Ashtanga Yoga, and then how the yogi, how he has controlled the mind, and he's controlled his mind, and who is he meditating on? He's meditating not on just some void or on nothing. No, he's meditating on the Supreme Lord. And because his mind is fixed on the Supreme Lord, his senses are all under control. He does not have any material desires coming in and out into his mind. So Prabhupada is saying, this is the position which is easily reached by a Krishna conscious person, a truly Krishna conscious person. Means a perfected, he's already revived his Krishna consciousness. He's already on the transcendental platform, already on the liberated platform. His consciousness is only fixed on the Lord. So it's not that he's just sitting and doing nothing and meditating on the Lord. No, he's engaged in all sorts of activities. He's doing everything, but he's doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna. So his mind is fixed on Krishna, and that is constant meditation. This is what it is. So it's not that only if someone is sitting in one quiet place and not doing anything, that person is meditating. No, a truly Krishna conscious person, he may be engaged in all sorts of activities for the pleasure of Krishna. And that is the true meditation. That is Krishna consciousness, doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna. So there's no material desire. This is a long one. So we'll try to see how much we can read from here. Text 20 to 23. Yatro parmate chittam nirudam yoga sevaya yatra chevatmanatmanam pashyan atmani tushyate sukham atyantikam yattad buddhi grayam atindriyam veti yatra na chevayam stitas chalati tatvatah yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tataha yasmin stito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidya dukha samyoga viyogam yoga samnitam. Sorry. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joy state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So Krishna is saying that once the yogi, the Ashtanga yogi, he has reached samadhi, because samadhi is the goal of yoga. Of Ashtanga yoga, the samadhi is the goal. And then what happens when he's reached the samadhi? Then that's the perfection for the yogi. His mind is not disturbed. His senses, because his mind is not disturbed, his senses are not disturbed, and he is feeling this joy this joy he's feeling. Why? Because he's already understood that I'm the soul, and he's seeing the Paramatma next to him. He's able to understand that, oh, I'm not this body, huh? I'm the soul. So the soul is Satchit Ananda, Ananda, boundless transcendental happiness. He is experiencing this through what? Transcendental senses. So it's not that only the material body we have senses. No, we have actually transcendental senses, the soul. The soul has a spiritual body. The soul has transcendental senses. And so because the yogi, now he's gotten this perfection, he says, I don't need anything else. I don't need anything else. And he is like, that's it. And he does not feel any material miseries at all. Because why? He's not attached to the body. He's understood, I'm not the body. Why do we feel the material miseries? Because we are attached to the body. That's what gives us, makes us feel this misery. So how to get freedom from the miseries? When we understand, hey, I'm not the body, I'm the spirit soul. So Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that the yogi who's done this Ashtanga yoga, he sat down, went to the forest, controlled his mind, went alone to the forest, controlled his mind and senses, sat down in meditation, and then he realized the Supreme Lord in his heart, the Paramatma in his heart, and he's feeling this unlimited bliss in his heart. And that's his perfection. By practice of yoga, one becomes gradually detached from material concepts. This is the primary characteristic of the yoga principle. And after this, one becomes situated in trance or samadhi, which means that the yogi realizes the super soul through transcendental mind and intelligence without any of the misgivings of identifying the self with the super self. So we can see that Ashtanga Yoga, it is a valid process. It is a bona fide process for perfection. It is, because when one actually performs this Ashtanga Yoga, then one can understand that, okay, I'm not the body, I'm the soul. He can understand that there is the super soul, and he can see the super soul. And so he stopped identifying with the body. So he's liberated, he's achieved the perfection. But what happens is, it is a bona fide process, yes, but it is not applicable for us in this age of Kali, because it takes many thousands of years to come to this point. It takes thousands of years for the yogi to sit down, calm himself, calm the mind, sit in meditation. We heard Kardama Muni, it took him 10,000 years of meditation to come to the point of seeing the Lord. Vishwamitra Muni, he sat in meditation for 60,000 years. We do not have that kind of life in Kali Yuga. We barely live even 100 years, and our minds are everywhere. How do we even begin to control it? So that's the point we need to understand, that yes, Ashtanga Yoga, if done properly, is a bona fide process, but it's not suitable for Kali Yuga. So yoga practice is more or less based on the principles of the Patanjali system. Some unauthorized commentators try to identify the individual soul with the super soul, and the monists think this to be liberation, but they do not understand the real purpose of the Patanjali system of yoga. So there's, as usual, people try to misinterpret. So what people say, oh, you're doing yoga, you're meditating, so the soul and the super soul are the same. But that's not right. It's unauthorized. It's unauthorized. And they think that, yes, this is liberation. Okay, I'm the soul, I'm God. No, no. The real Patanjali system is, there is a soul and there is a super soul. There is a difference. There's a difference. So to think that the soul and the super soul are the same, that is mental speculation. It's unauthorized. So there is an acceptance of transcendental pleasure in the Patanjali system, but the monists do not accept this transcendental pleasure out of fear of jeopardizing the theory of oneness. The duality of knowledge and knower is not accepted by the non-dualist, but in this verse, transcendental pleasure realized through transcendental senses is accepted. And this is corroborated by Patanjali Muni, the famous exponent of the yoga system. So Patanjali Muni, he understands that yes, there is the soul and there is the super soul, and that is proper liberation. That is liberation. And in that point, the soul is experiencing a boundless joy. It's transcendental pleasure. But there are some people who think, no, 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 no. There is no super soul. There is only the soul, or there is only soul. And once I understand that I'm the soul, then that is transcendental pleasure. Not understanding that, yes, there is a soul, but there is also a super soul. The great sage declares in his Yoga Sutras 433, Purushartha Shunyanam Gunanam Pratiprashvaha Kevalyam Swarupa Pratishtha Va Chit Shaktir Iti. So Prabhupada is saying Patanjali Muni, his real teachings are correct for the yoga, but some people have misinterpreted his teachings, misinterpreted and said, oh, the soul and super soul are the same. And that is the problem. The super soul and the soul are different. We are the soul and the super soul is God. This Chit Shakti or internal potency is transcendental. A Purushartha means material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and at the end, the attempt to become one with the Supreme. This oneness with the Supreme is called Kevalyam by the monist. But according to Patanjali, this Kevalyam is an internal or transcendental potency by which the living entity becomes aware of his constitutional position. So when Patanjali is saying Kevalyam, it does not mean that we understand, oh, I am God, or that we merge into God. No, there is no merging into God. We are individuals. The soul is always an individual. Even in the liberated stage, remains an individual. So the understanding is that the soul becomes aware that, oh, there is a super soul. And in that position, he is experiencing this unlimited joy, the transcendental joy. In the words of Lord Caitanya, this state of affairs is called Cheto Darpana Marjanam, or clearance of the impure mirror of the mind. So Lord Caitanya says, by chanting, chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And then he says, first thing what happens when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that our mind, which has become so impure now, it's become, our consciousness has become cloudy, become muddy. But by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, this impure mind gets cleaned. The consciousness gets cleaned. This clearance is actually liberation, or Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. So by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, first thing happens is liberation. If we chant properly, because that's what it's going to bring us to liberation. And then it gives us higher and higher. Devotional service begins from the point of liberation. Real life begins from the point of liberation. It's not that once we get liberated, that's finished. That end and don't do anything. No, our real life begins from the point of liberation. So we should come to this point so that we can engage in our real life. The theory of nirvana also preliminary corresponds with this principle. In the Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 6, this is called Svarupena Vyavasthitihi. The Bhagavad Gita also confirms this situation in this verse. So we can say that what we can try to understand is some people, without understanding the scriptures from the correct authority, start making up things and believing in it and spreading it. But when we don't hear from the proper authority, we are not getting the real spiritual knowledge. And just because we believe in something or we have faith in something, it doesn't make it true. So again, it points out that we should hear from the proper spiritual authority and not hear from people who are not following any authority and just misinterpreting or making up things. But because then it's just on somebody's mind, it's based on somebody's mind, and our minds are imperfect. They're material. So we'll stop here for today. Yeah, we'll stop here for today and continue with the purport tomorrow. It's still a bit long. So were there any questions or comments on this?
That सब है आत्मा and सब में है परमात्मा.
सब में है आत्मा, सब में है परमात्मा. That's right.
सब है आत्मा और सब में है परमात्मा. Right? Because everybody is a soul and they all have Paramatma. Because as you mentioned that they think that they become one and then there is no Paramatma and Atma is only Paramatma.
Yes.
So there is so much.
Yes, that's right.
So the point to remember from this would be that.
Yes, very good.
Right?
That's right. Yes, very nice. Very good. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening in and joining in. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.